Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing an album review today. I'm going to be taking a look at this record here by ELO. It's Eldorado. So yes, I'll just be doing my usual thing in this video, giving a bit of background information about the album, then show you my final copy of it here, and then looking at each of the album songs in detail. So yeah, it's been a while since I talked about ELO on my channel, and I kind of fancied reviewing one of their albums, possibly one that I'd reviewed before I started sort of scoring the songs and giving an overall sort of score for the album, but then I thought about this album, and it's I guess going into this video was probably one of the ELO albums I thought was maybe a bit overrated. So it's interesting, I guess, to see how my opinions maybe changed since I've really been listening to this in preparation for this review. So no, this was ELO's fourth studio album, released in September 1974, and it's does mark a real turning point, I'd say, in the band. Really, up to this point they'd been probably not quite prog, but kind of prog rock adjacent. A bit of a kind of quite messy, quite long songs, kind of thing. Apparently, the motivation for this album was Jeff Lynne's father, who had said that the problem with your tunes is they don't have any tune. So basically, Jeff was like, "I'll show you what a tune is," and kind of then sort of started work on this album. And the idea was that they would expand the band's lineup. So up to this point, they'd been a kind of 7-man band really, since their second album, and they've been touring a lot. They were a real prolific live act around this time. But I guess maybe were a bit boxed in by that kind of set lineup. So for this album, in order to do these new songs justice, Jeff Lynne decided to have the string parts on here recorded with a full orchestra. So he got in a guy called Lewis Clark, who I think he knew from Birmingham, and the orchestra themselves were just assembled from kind of random session musicians. It wasn't a set orchestra, it wasn't the London Symphony Orchestra or anything like that. It was just random players who were available, were kind of brought on board, and were then learned the parts arranged by this Lewis Clark, and then conducted on the recordings by Lynne himself and Richard Tandy. Now the album Eldorado is somewhat of a concept album. It's about the dreams of a lonely, ordinary man who's trying to escape this reality, and is kind of journeying certainly on the first side anyway, he's journeying through his fantasies kind of thing, and then the second side is kind of about him kind of dealing with it and trying to either get help for these dreams he keeps having, or in a way embracing them as well, and realizing that actually I want to live in this dream world rather than my reality. As a concept is interesting, and I definitely think as a concept album it actually does hold together remarkably well. They keep the narrative arc going throughout the whole album, which a lot of concept albums just don't do, or either their stories or their themes are just too baffling for the ordinary person to really grasp. At least this album here does make sense somewhat. Now, in terms of commercial success, this was a real US breakthrough for ELO. It charted at number 16 on the Billboard charts, and the single Can't Get It Out of My Head went into the top 10. However, in their native UK, it was a different story. ELO had a very interesting career trajectory in the UK, in terms of commercial-wise, because they started off pretty successfully. Songs like 1053 Overture and the Roll Over Beethoven cover were both top 10 or at least top 20 hits, the previous couple of years. But by the time they got to this album, this album failed to chart in the UK in 1974. Quite remarkable. Switch in terms of them being zero UK success, but we're actually picking up ground in America. And also we'll get onto the song Can't Get It Out of My Head in a bit, but that single also failed to chart as well. Really remarkable. But within about 2 years time, they were probably one of the biggest pop acts off the day, but just hit a bit of a commercial lull at this point. And it wasn't for lack of a good critical reception. Like at the time, Rolling Stone magazine called it a triumph for the group. And yeah, retrospectively, this album has definitely gone down as one of ELO's most revered works, like I'd say. Like it is well acclaimed. Classic Rock magazine named it as one of the 50 albums that built prog rock, and it was ranked at number 43 on Rolling Stone magazine's top 50 prog albums. So among that kind of like sort of prog fans, this album is seen as a real triumph and like one of like the defining albums like of like the genre. So I want to show you my vinyl copy of it here. Now this is a reissue of it, but it's from the 70s. It's maybe 78, 79. So I think it was reissued like when ELO were a bit more successful. Front and back covers are the same. I mean, I do like the cover. Of course, it's a still from The Wizard of Oz. It's a good cover, works on the album, but it's just the same like on the front and the back. It's got a printed inner on it, this one here, so you just got the lyrics on one side and then a good picture of the band at the time here. So yeah, they were kind of going through a bit of a transition. They had like Michael de Albuquerque on bass, so this was pre-Kelly Grocott. And I think some of the string players like switched around, although there is like Mick Kaminsky on here and Hugh McDowell, but Mike Edwards left and was replaced by someone else who I forget his name. Was he called Melvin something or other possibly? But yeah, that's kind of like the ELO lineup was always like always evolving, but that's where they were in 1974. And this, as you can see here, is on a yellow vinyl here. So yeah, like their early albums were all reissued in well, yeah, probably was like late 70s on these nice coloured vinyls, so that's what this copy is here. Okay, so I'll now just go over each of the album's tracks in detail. I'll score each song out of 10, and then use those scores to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. Okay, so the opening track is Eldorado Overture, which I've kind of bundled in with Can't Get It Out of My Head and kind of treating like as one song. I mean, the overture itself is maybe about a minute and a half, maybe even 2 minutes, possibly. So I guess it maybe did deserve like a proper song, but it's not really a song. It is just the introduction to the album. A very heavily orchestrated piece, or kind of starts with a kind of poem, like read out, which kind of sets the scene for the album and talks about like the dreamer, the unwoken fool sort of thing, and then a big kind of string fanfare part comes in. It's all very dramatic stuff, and then that then sieges seamlessly into Can't Get It Out of My Head, which is the proper album opener, which is a really interesting choice for an opening though, because it is a ballad. It's one of ELO's most softer, most tender like kind of like ballads, and it's a bit of a classic song now, really, like in like ELO's discography, but it's probably not one of my favourite it's definitely not one of my favourite like ELO songs. I think it's a good track that kind of does set the scene for the album really well, in terms of setting up the kind of visions that this guy is having about midnight on the water. I saw the ocean's daughter, walking on a wave she came, staring as she commented. That whole bit, it's good. It's kind of it kind of sets that scene and then kind of ends up going back into like on like the last verse, like into like reality, where he's working this dull bank job in the city and not being envied by the likes of Robin Hood and William Tell and Ivanhoe and Lancelot. Goes like the lines very rushed, it's a very rushed line like in like the song. I think a bit clunky for me, like that particular bit, but no, the song itself like is good. It's just maybe a bit ELO by numbers a little bit, but it's kind of I always kind of bundle this song, Strange Magic, all up into the same kind of Jeff Lynne ballad kind of like kind of pot like a little bit. I think the production on here like on this whole album is quite interesting as well, because the string parts are recorded really nicely, but kind of the band and their and particularly Jeff Lynne's vocals, I think, on this whole album sound a little bit off to me, and certainly like on like this song here, like I don't think his vocal like is particularly good, like on it, or like certainly like the recording of it just something just doesn't gel quite well for me like with it. But it's a perfectly okay song, I think. It's a perfectly good song, gentle, nice easy opener, but maybe a little bit on the boring side for me. Okay, next up now on the album is Boy Blue. Now this again is, it's been a bit of a grower, this one, on me. It was probably a song which I never really cared for too much, but I think really works on the album. It takes a while to get going. This again, there's a lot of kind of string fanfare, like on like kind of like the build up to this one, and it's quite a dynamic song as well. It's kind of alternates between some quite urgent musical passages and then some slightly more bits where the kind of pace comes down a little bit. I think it works quite well. Lyrically, this song is quite a creative song, like in like a lot of ways. It's basically about like on this track, the dreamer on this song is dreaming that he's a Middle Ages crusader who's just come back from battle. So sort of like the lyrics go, welcome home, where have you been all these years? Look around, all the crowd is in tears. It's so good to see you in the streets of your town, like goes out the song. And it's quite a, yeah, like the kind of chorus on this, like, hey, Boy Blue is back. It's supposed to be quite a kind of celebratory, like kind of chorus, like all like the kind of like the townsfolk, like happy to see him. But then the kind of twist, like on like the last verse, is that the character himself has no desire to be celebrated. Like in like many ways, he sings like, no man shall cause me to take up arms again. So it's a bit of that kind of anti-war kind of theme like going on like on this one here, like as well. It's a good song, I think, but it's just a bit, well, it says good song. I like the verses and the concept's good. It's just, again, the vocals are recorded slightly poorly, and that chorus, hey, Boy Blue is back, does get quite repetitive and does really wear the song down for me. Other positives, though, I do like. There's a little string part that really reminds me of Living Thing. You know, like in a way, like this whole album, like in like many ways, kind of definitely set the template for what ELO would become, and kind of like there's definitely bits on this album that they would almost refer to like over like the next couple like of albums, and there's a wee linking bit like where there's a kind of violin that's plucked that is like they almost lifted directly like for like Living Thing. Now this song was released as the second single from the album in America, but it did fail to chart, and I can kind of see why. I definitely think songs about Middle Ages crusaders hardly aren't gonna like set like the charts are light, and the song itself is not very commercial either, so yeah, failed to chart this one like as a single, but it's good on the album, but yeah, definitely like not a favourite. Okay, next up now on the album is Laredo Tornado. Now this one is a really good song actually. Again, this is probably the one on the album that has really grown on me since I've been listening to it in preparation for this review. Starts off really strong. There's a great like guitar riff and like some good keyboard parts like on it as well. Lyrically, this is another kind of fantasy song. This one, the dreamer is now a American Indian and is basically singing about like the tornado, aka the kind of like the like sort of like the impending like invasion and removal like of like the Native like Americans and that. So it's like yeah, like quite like an interesting song lyrically, like in like many ways, and then kind of then draws a kind of parallel like in like the last verse, like with like the dreamer's real world, like reality, describing that as the air that makes you choke, towers of concrete, hellish go round, he sings like on it. I do like the music on this one, probably more so than the lyrics. I think the verse has got this really good, it's a kind of keyboard part. It's quite funky, quite almost Stevie Wonder-esque, like in like some ways, like Richard Tandy's keyboard sound like on here. And then the kind of the chorus, which comes in quite late, like on like the song. Jeff Lynne just does this great swooping vocal, very kind of Roy Orbison-esque, and then this way it breaks down like that, when your dream world is gone and your friends and lovers too bit is like really good, and then the last verse has got this really cool vocal interplay. It kind of darts around from kind of side to side and is kind of all like overlapped. I think that's really intricate and like really well done. So no, Laredo Tornado is a really good song actually, quite an underrated track there in the ELO discography for me. Okay, Okay, and then wrapping up side one, we get a Poor Boy, The Greenwood. Now this one again is another one of the is like another one like the fantasy songs like on the album. Basically about now the dreamer is one of Robin Hood's many men, and they're all having a kind of great sort of victory party and that. And it's an upbeat kind of peppy number describing the scene that goes like the dancing girls and the open fires, the wine that flows like water. So again, it's got this good kind of like chorus like about like rolling on, like I'll keep rolling on. Again, production wise, it's like oddly balanced, this one. The string parts are really well recorded, but the vocals are almost buried in the mix. They're quite hard to make out sometimes. And definitely Jeff Lynne would come on leaps and bounds like as like a producer, like even like beyond like this album. And then it kind of like wraps up side one with a kind of reprise like of like the overture, which I think works really well and like really brings all these kind of dream sequences like to like an end. But yeah, Poor Boy the Greenwood, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a song that I really cared about. It's not a song that I would ever really go back to out with the album, but it works in the context like of the album though. Okay, and then we flip over to side two, which opens up with Mr. Kingdom. Now this is a slower, more complex, more interesting track, I think, to kick off side two. It's full of desperation, like in this song here. Like in this song, we're almost kind of taken back to earth, like back to reality. But now the dreamer is kind of trying to get back to his dream sort of thing, and is trying to sort of reach out to this Mr. Kingdom figure for some help and spiritual help to find the rainbow's end, he sings like on it. So it's quite like a deep song lyrically, and musically is very good. I love the kind of keyboard tones on it. It's very Beatles-esque, this one. A lot of people compare this to Across the Universe and kind of pick out the melody, which is quite similar, like I must admit, but I definitely hear more kind of like I Am the Walrus kind of thing to kind of like the keyboard tones. It's almost like a kind of slower, like sort of like I Am the Walrus. I mean, there's a lot of space left on this song as well. It's quite a kind of bare bones song. It's quite a long song as well, and you'd think it would drag, but I actually don't think this song does drag. And then kind of like the ending, it kind of gets more intense, and the kind of like the orchestra comes in. I think this is really well done, this song, actually. But then the album does take a bit of a left turn with the next track, which is called Nobody's Child. Now this song is, I would say, quite annoying, personally. Like the kind of like the repetition of this painted lady's line, it just gets very annoying for me. It's a song about seduction on this one here. It's a kind of track. Again, I'm not sure if this one's a dream or if this is supposed to be taking place like in like reality, although there is the line about painted lady, like you're supposed to be a dream, so maybe this one like is in reality kind of thing, and he's kind of confronted with perhaps something that he was maybe dreaming about, which essentially about being sort of seduced, basically, like kind of thing. And it's got this kind of this sort of dirty kind of burlesque kind of cabaret sort of music to it. It's really not my usual bag in terms of music, and again I think Lynne's vocal is quite weak like on this song like overall. So like Nobody's Child, one of my least favourites like on the album. I'm giving it a 5, but I could maybe like even go slightly lower like on it personally. And then the next song up is Illusions in G Major. Now this one is again a song which is firmly set like in like the real world. Like he basically like on this one it's about kind of going to a doctor kind of thing for kind of like medical help about like his visions, but he's kind of saying like, do they have like any like hidden meaning? But then he kind of then also like he doesn't want to be cured, because he says that it's good entertainment, it doesn't cost a penny, like goes some of like the lyrics. So I think it's a good song in terms of it fits the album concept quite well. But again, much like other tracks like Poor Boy, I would never really go to this song like out with the album. I just think it's not a very interesting kind of old kind of 50s style rockabilly number that ELO would always kind of throw on like their albums. Punchy brass on it. I think this one, the production does work quite well. It's less string, it's more brass heavy, which I think works with the song. But again, it's not a very interesting song for me. So yeah, Illusions in G Major would get a 6 out of 10. And I will stay. Okay, and then we've reached the album closer, or the kind of pair of songs that kind of finish off the album, which is Eldorado and the Eldorado finale. Now, this is my favourite song on the album by far. It's a song that I've always loved, and to be fair, in the context of the album, I think works even better even better than it does as a standalone song. It's a devastatingly beautiful ballad. This basically, the dreamer has now kind of woken up. He's in the real world, but has decided that firmly that his dreams are better than reality, and that there's these things like there's nothing left for me in this world, and he's trying to he's seeking desperately to go back to this dream state. And it does a really good job, I think, of summing up the whole concept of the album in one song. It kind of I do like on this the way it does refer back to other songs, and I'm not sure if it does talk about the Crusaders of Boy Blue, but it definitely mentions the Painted Ladies off the Avalon, from previous on the album. So I think this song does work really well. I like the production on it, the stop-start nature of it. That siren motif is really, really hauntingly beautiful, I think. And I do like how the narrative is left open. It's kind of it's not clear. A lot of people online I've read suggest that the character on this song commits suicide at the end of it, which is quite a dark ending, to permanently get back to this dreaming state. Or perhaps he's kind of just decided to, stick it out, I'll just go to sleep kind of thing, do a kind of Rip Van Winkle kind of style thing. So it's kind of left open a little bit, but vocally is spot on. This is a song where Jeff, again, a bit like Laredo Tornado, is really channeling his inner Roy Orbison, and is definitely, I would say, the finest Jeff Lynne vocal performance up till this point, and possibly even from the whole ELO catalogue. I'm struggling to think of a Jeff Lynne vocal that's better than this, which is remarkable considering the other vocals on this album I think are some of his weaker vocals. Actually, I just think this song's got just so much feeling in it. It just is a great closer, and then that then goes into the Eldorado finale, which is just does what it says on the tin. Really, it rounds off the album, reprises a bit of the main overture theme, and it just closes things off really well. Okay, so overall for this album, I would give it 75% when I top the scores and do an average. So it's not the highest scoring album in the world for me, because I do think that even though there's only 8 proper songs on here, and at least 2 or 3 of them I could ditch and not really care about much. So when you look at the album in the whole, it maybe doesn't quite hang together for me, and it's definitely not one of my all-time favorite ELO albums even still. But definitely doing this review has made me rediscover tracks that I do love on here: Laredo Tornado, Mr. Kingdom, and Eldorado in particular. And it is definitely a creative record, the whole theme of this album and the execution of it is really well done. I think it is definitely one of the, I'm not the biggest prog fan, but I do know and I'm aware of many concept albums, or albums that try to be concept albums that just don't quite work. They maybe do 1 or 2 songs, Sgt. Pepper's the classic example. They do 1 or 2 songs and then get sick of it and just make an album. But on this album, they actually stick to the concept, they stick it out, and it's all the better for it, really. It's definitely an album that is stronger as a cohesive whole than when you kind of break it down and get into the nitty-gritty with the individual tracks. So it's an interesting album this one here, Eldorado. I'd be interested to know where you rank it on your ELO list. Is it come near the top, could it come near the bottom? For me, it's probably in the bottom half of my ELO ranking, I would say, but it's still a pretty good album overall. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed my review of it, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.